All right, hello guys, welcome to SHEQPGHOnline. We are currently live on YouTube and we are happy to bring you another session of our Sunday webinar series. In today's session, we have a very special guest on the show. He's in the person of Peter Glover, who will be taking us through defensive driving. All right, so today we have Peter Glover on the show who will be taking us through defensive driving. For those of you who missed last week was very, very insightful. And today promises to be even much exciting. And today's topic is going to be on driving codes. I'm sure not many of you are aware of the driving codes in Ghana. So personally, I'm very, very excited about today's topic, and I'm so eager to learn what Peter has to share. So Peter is an EHS and risk specialist who has been working in the EHS field for the past 15 years. His experience cut across industries from transportation, mining, and oil and gas, and is currently working for an exploration and production firm. He's worked on the KNK, and his previous job was with Modec. So we are very excited to have Peter on board. But before I bring Peter in, I would like to quickly introduce SHEQPGHOnline to everyone. SHEQPGHOnline is a platform that we've dedicated to safety professionals in Ghana to connect, share, and learn with the wider community. So we are always looking forward to having great personalities like Peter on board so that you all share together, we learn. All right, so Peter, you are currently, the floor is yours, Peter, so you can go ahead.
Thank you, Sal, for tonight. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we want to look at the driving code. Why is the driving code so important to us? That is about the road traffic laws and regulations. So far as you drive on our road, you drive on the road, move from one place to another, you have to have some idea about what the law says. Sometimes the police will stop you and request for certain things from you. It is your duty to provide it because they have the law backing them to stop any car and carry out statutory inspection on the car. So let's look at some of the things which the do's and don'ts on the road. And some of the things when you do it, you could be arrested and charged. Right. So today is driving code, the road traffic laws and regulations. So the traffic laws and definitions, the outline for today, we'll be looking at the traffic offenses and their penalties, the major traffic offenses, restrictions on road use in the interest of road safety, driver qualification issues, vehicle use issues, and the miscellaneous and spot fine offenses. And you also remember that some years back, sports fine offenses law have been also passed in the parliament, which implementation has not been done yet, but still some of the police are using those scattered laws to find some of the dangerous drivers on the road. So let's look at some of them today. So introduction, we are looking at traffic crashes are caused by many factors, as you may know. So traffic crashes are managed by various interventions, including education, engineering, and enforcement of the law. Now, the law is a rule of conduct that must, the law is a rule of conduct that must be obeyed. The rules of conduct are required to ensure our safety on the road, all right? Our safe use of the road. Okay. Definitions. What is traffic? When we talk about traffic, what do we mean by traffic? Traffic is the movement of motorized vehicles, non-motorized vehicles, and pedestrians on roads. Traffic laws, the statutes which govern our control safe movement of traffic. Traffic offenses, any action or behavior on the part of a road user which contravenes or is contrary to the safe movement of traffic constitutes a traffic offense. So let's know these definitions. Now, the source of traffic laws in Ghana. Now, the first, we are in our constitution, Act 21(4)(c), under the public safety considerations and constraints. The law on traffic regulation is written over there, which state that allows for the imposition of restrictions that are reasonably required in the interest of defense, public safety, public health. Other sources of traffic laws in the 1992 Constitution. In the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, it is there. The NRSC Act 1999 Act 567, DVLA Act 1999 Act 569, Road Traffic Act 2004 Act 683, Road Traffic Regulations 2012 LI 2180, and court decisions. So these are the traffic laws that where you can find the laws that are talking about traffic issues in Ghana. And the last one is of interest, that is the court decision. There are rulings that has been passed already, and those rulings becomes a law. So in some cases, when you go to the court, and some of this, your case is similar to the past ruling, they can use that ruling to judge the case and find you immediately. So please, let's take notice of that. The major traffic offenses. What is it? Dangerous driving. Person drives dangerously if the way the person drives falls below what is expected of a competent and careful driver, or it is obvious to a competent and careful that it would be dangerous driving the vehicle in that manner or in its current state. That is a dangerous driving. What the court has already said. Now, so let's look at what the court has already said about that. Failure to conform to the pedestrian crossing rules, resulting in pedestrian avoiding a crash by stopping suddenly in their track or jumping back to avoid being collided into, is an offense. So when you are driving and you are getting close to a pedestrian crossing and a pedestrian enter into the road and you did not stop, and the pedestrian has to jump back, and if there is a police person over there, they can arrest you because it's an offense. Speed exceeding speed limit by 20 kilometers per hour through a junction against the traffic red light signal, resulting in other vehicles having to take evasive action to avoid a collision or a near collision, is an offense. Cutting across double white lanes or overtaking in the face of oncoming traffic and forcing oncoming vehicle to take evasive action to avoid a collision or a near collision. So those areas where you see this, the traffic signal red and white, which state that do not overtake. And if you overtake within that area, you have caused and if there is any police personnel within that area, you have they can arrest you and charge you because that is a traffic offense. switching lanes repeatedly at speed well exceeding speed limit by 40 kilometers without signal, or driving in a zigzag manner at speed exceeding limits by 40 kilometers, and by so doing encroach into part of vehicle resulting near collision. This is a traffic offense, and they can arrest you on that. Penalty for dangerous driving. What are the penalties? When you are dangerous driving, result no body injury or minor injury is between 100 to 20 units, 9 months or both in prison, a sum of 2,400. Serious bodily injury between 200 and 500 units, 2 years or both in jail, 6,000 cedis. Where death occurs, imprisonment of a term not less than 3 years, no option for a fine. So the judge has the right to charge you, right? No option for a fine. In that case, you are going straight to jail. So when you are driving, please be careful. Dangerous to state property, damage to state property, that is 100 units, and payment for a fine up to 1,200. Careless and inconsiderate driving, what is it? You are considered a careless and inconsiderate driver if you use the road as a driver without due care and attention. When reasonable consideration for other persons using the road. When you are unreasonable for other road users, disrespect other road users, all right? You drive like you are the only person on the road. It's an offense, and they can charge you for that. What the court says, a driver who, whilst reversing, failed to look behind him for possible traffic and almost caused a collision is an offense. So when you are reversing, and you crash into another car behind you, all right, it's an offense. Okay, so you can be charged on that. A driver who crossed the center white line when overtaking and failed to look forward the direction of oncoming vehicle as his attention was diverted is an offense. A driver has switched his turn left signal and make a right turn. So you are moving, and then instead of you moving to the right, you switch your left, and by the time you realize you move to the right instead of moving to the left, it's an offense, and you can be charged on that. Penalty for careless and inconsiderate driving. Careless and inconsiderate driving, denying others the opportunity to use the road is 500 penalty units, up to 5 years in jail, or 6,000 Ghana cedis. Now, what is it? A person who, while driving or attempting to drive a motor vehicle on a road, is under the influence, that is the driving under the influence of alcohol. All right. Okay. A person who, while driving or attempting to drive a motor vehicle on a road, is under the influence of alcohol or drug to such a degree as to be incapable of having proper control of the vehicle. All right, level determination by it can be that is an offense. And when the police arrest you, the police can charge you for breath. They can do urinal tests. They can do blood tests. They can do a breathalyzation test on you immediately, and you have no control over that. Okay, now in this case, dangerous driving, no bodily injury or minor injury. That is what under alcohol and drug is 100 units, 9 months or both in jail, 2,400. Okay. Serious bodily injury, that is 2,500 between 2,500 and 500 units, 2 years or both. That falls within 3,000 to 6,000 cities. Where death occur, sentence not less than 3 years, no option for a fine. So we need to be very careful when we are driving on the road. Obey the driving rules. Now, a person of 18, seat belt usage. A person of 80 years or above who drive a motor vehicle on the road or sit on the front or rear seat of a vehicle, of a motor vehicle being driven on the road without wearing a seat belt commit an offense. Now, this is in the law. So those of you who drive without seat belt, both sitting in front or sitting in the rear section without seat belt is an offense. And that implies to any car that do not have seat belt as well. Okay, so if your car do not have seat belt, it's an offense. All right, but sometimes we have the good laws, but the implementation and the implementation of the law is not there. Now, the penalty unit is 10 units, 4 months maximum or both. And you can be charged. The 10 unit is equal to 120 Ghana cedis. So take note of that. Now, children and seatbelt. A person who drives a motor vehicle on the road when a child of 5 years or below is in the front or rear seat without wearing a seatbelt commit an offense. So a child who sits in front or sits in the rear must be in a seatbelt. If that child is not in a seatbelt, it's an offense. And then a child at age of 5 and 18 sits on the front and rear seat without a seatbelt is also an offense. A child of 5 and 18, all right. Now the penalty unit is 10 penalty unit, which is also 120. So when police should arrest you and there is a spot fine, you should know that this is what you pay. All right, the law has already been passed, by the implementation, and then where to pay these monies are the issue. Or else, when you pay it to a policeman, forget, he would spend the money. So this is the example of what we are talking about. The picture, which with the inscription, yes, the child is sitting very well in this the child children seat. And you see this one at the other side is no, and it's not acceptable. So that is a restriction on road use in the interest of road safety. Improper parking. A person who parks a motor vehicle wholly or partly on the verge of shoulder of a road, footpath, land situate between two carriageways, pedestrian crossing, a place reserved for the physically challenged commit an offense. And that is 25 units, 8 months maximum or both in jail. 25 units is equal to 300 Ghana cedis. So take note, pedestrian crossing, then you go park there. Places which are meant for physically challenged, then you go and park there. And when they talk, because you feel you are driving a very good car, you show disrespect to anyone within the area. If there is a law enforcement agent over there, you can be arrested and charged. So please take note of that. Leaving vehicle trailer in dangerous position. A person in charge of a vehicle, of a motor vehicle, who caused or permit the motor vehicle or trailer drawn by it to remain at rest or a road in such circumstances as constitute a danger or causes injury to any other person using the road commit an offense. And that is 25 penalty units, also 300. Maximum permissible axle load. Person shall not drive on a road a vehicle or a trailer or a combined vehicle with a trailer with a net gross weight of more than 60 metric tons, except that the person is certified by the minister to exceed the limit subject to conditions spelled out in the authorization. So this is 16 metric tons height is not allowed until you are working with a strict authorization from the minister. This is the law, all right? A warehouse and a company that manufactures or is engaged in the carriage of bulk goods shall provide and install a weight bridge or other approved device for weighing of a load as required by the law. So this is the axial permissible axial load limit. And compliance to traffic direction. A person driving a vehicle, motor vehicle, who neglect or refuse to obey a police officer or an authorized person engaged in regulating of traffic commit an offense. So don't think it is only police who have the authority to control the traffic when vehicles are moving and there's a confusion. There are times the DVLA give their own people to do those directions to control the traffic. If you disobey them and there is a police person over there, they can arrest you. It's 10 units. 10 units is 120. Traffic signs. The traffic signs are statutory information, warnings, prohibitions, restrictions, or requirements which must be complied with. A person driving a motor vehicle who fails to comply with an indication given by the traffic sign of a prescribed size or color commit an offense, and that is also 10 units, 4 months or both, and or you'll be charged without 120. Direction to pedestrians. A person who disobeys a police officer or authorized person directing vehicle traffic or the road commit an offense. That is 10 units, 4 months maximum or both. So this one is the discretion of the judge. A person who ignores the traffic light signal shall commit an offense. So when you are driving and you see the traffic light, some of us, when the traffic light is yellow, we still want to move and make sure we pass through. When you move and it is red on you and you couldn't brake and you pass through, it's an offense. You understand? If you are not arrested, it doesn't mean you are doing the right thing. But these days, they will start arresting you because now there is a CCTV installed in all these traffic points. All right. And immediately these TVs are commissioned. I can tell you, you'll be in your house and there will be a bill for you. All right. Okay. A person who drives a vehicle on a road which is a footpath or pedestrian walkway commit an offense, 10 units, 4 months, or 120. Now, driver's qualification, let's look at that. Disqualification by age. A person is disqualified from holding or obtaining a vehicle to drive under 18 years. You are not. A commercial vehicle, if he or she is under 23 years. So under 23 years for commercial vehicles. If you are not 23 years, you cannot drive a commercial vehicle. So anyone who is driving a commercial vehicle below 23 is an offense. An agricultural tractor, if he or she is under 21 years, is an offense. Now, licensing of drivers. Person shall not drive a motor vehicle of any description or class on a road unless that person is a holder of a driving license authorizing the person to drive the vehicle of that description or class. So penalty is 25 units, 300. So when you are not given the authorization to drive license C cars, and you are driving it, you are committing an offense. They can arrest you and charge you. Okay. Provision of information. If at any time the license holder becomes aware that he is suffering from any disease that can affect, right, the holder's ability to drive, which he has not disclosed to the licensing authority, or that what he disclosed has become more acute, he must notify the licensing authority or commit an offense. All right, so that one, let's say you have been given a license, and in the way, as you man keep growing and all that, your eyesight begins to reduce. At least you need to inform the licensing authority, right? When you do not, and there is any incident, you will be charged, and that is not less than 10 units or more than 25 units, which falls within 120 and 300 Ghana cedis. Driving after revocation refusal. A person commits an offense where he drives a motor vehicle, in respect of which the licensing authority has refused to grant or has revoked his license. In this case, when they revoke your license or a policeman take your license, please, you are not authorized to drive. And if you are driving and they arrest you, it's 25 units or 8 months or both in jail. That 25 units is 300. And remember, the judge has the discretion to give you a fine or to jail you. A person commits an offense when he drives a motor vehicle while that person cannot comply with the requirement as to eyesight. So if your eyesight is not good, please, you cannot drive. 25 units or 300. Licensing of driver. Where a police officer suspects that a person driving a motor vehicle is likely to commit an offense out of a defective eyesight, the officer may require the driver to submit to a test for the purpose of ascertaining whether he could have driven at the time without an aid. The person who refuses to submit commit an offense. 10 units, 2 months maximum or both a year. A person who uses a license which has been forged commit an offense, and that is 55 units penalty unit, 8 months or both in jail, or 660. All right. So those of us who takes license from Guru Boys, not from the right source, if we have good police people, they can arrest you and charge you accordingly. Licensing of a driver. A person commits an offense if, while driving, he obtains a license or drives a motor vehicle on the road. A police officer may arrest without warrant a person driving a motor vehicle where he has reasonable cause to suspect that he is disqualified. So if the police suspect that you are a disqualified driver, you can arrest you without any warrant. That is 10 units, 120. Use of vehicle, that is continued. Commit an offense when the number of passengers carried by it or the manner in which they are carried or weight position or distribution of its load, or the manner in which it is secured as such to involve a danger of injury to any person or damage to property is a 25-unit offense. 6 weeks to 8 months, 25 units is equal to 300 cedis. A person, that is a driving period. A person or an owner of a vehicle shall not drive or cause a permit or permit another person to drive a vehicle for a continuous period exceeding 4 hours, or a total of 8 hours in a 24 hours period, or 500 kilometers. So to drive more than 4 hours without resting is an offense. Driving 8 hours in 24 hours without rest is an offense. Or driving 500 kilometers without rest is an offense. And that is 25 units, 300 or 30 days or both in jail. General speed limits: 300 kilometers within school areas, 500 kilometers in urban areas, 50 kilometers in urban areas, 90 kilometers on the highway, 100 kilometers on the motorway, 75 kilometers for HGVs, that is a heavy goods vehicle, 80-kilometer bus, passengers carrying vehicle or loaded, HGVs, 100 kilometers for saloon. Now remember, these are not in miles. It's not 30 miles. It's not 30 miles. So those of us who are driving cars in miles, we need to change it. We need to change that into kilometers. All right, because miles cars run faster than the kilometer cars. All right, and the speedometer become harder. All right, so please take notice of this. If you go against this, you can be arrested and charged. All right, vehicle use issues. Road use certificate. The person shall not drive or use or permit any motor vehicle or on a road unless there is in force in respect of the motor vehicle or road use certificate. The road use sticker shall be carried on the front screen of the motor vehicle as to be readily identified by a police officer or the DVLA. Now, those of us who go in for these statutory documents, insurance and all that, and put it in our locker, when the policeman asks you, then you say, okay, let me open it for you and give it to the policeman. Please, the law doesn't say that. The law says displace it in your windscreen. All right. So if a policeman charge you with respect to that, you should know that they are doing the right thing. All right. So please take notice of that. 25 units. All right. A person who drives on a road or uses a motor vehicle in respect of which there is no valid road use certificate is 25 units, 6 weeks or both, 300 Ghana cedis. Vehicle use requirement: advanced warning device, fire extinguishers, first aid kits, reflective tapes, and eyes. These are the vehicle requirements. So if your tie is not in good condition, they can arrest you. If you don't have a reflective tape or you have a defective reflective tape, they can arrest you. No first aid kit, you can be arrested. First, fire extinguisher, no fire extinguisher, you can be arrested. Advanced warning device, you can be arrested. So that is why sometimes the police have so many options. You know, when you offend them, they would find a way to get you. they will look for all those things. If you don't have one, they will use it against you. It's not that they are doing the bad thing, they are doing the right thing because it's in the law. We talked about this already, maximum permissible axle. Okay, the miscellaneous. A person commits an offense if he makes a false statement for purposes of obtaining or preventing the grant or renewal of license. 50 units, 600. The police may arrest with or without warrant. You should know that they can arrest with or without warrant. The private citizen can arrest without warrant any driver who in his presence drive a commercial vehicle recklessly. You see, the law also has given us the authority to arrest anybody who is driving recklessly or is a danger on the road. You understand? If you have the strength, you can arrest and submit to the police. Do it, right? But if you can't, please, and you have a nearest police station, report the person with the vehicle number and let them arrest the person. Any such person shall be taken to the nearest police station for interrogation and prosecution. Any person who gives false name or address or false information demanded by the private person commit an offense. Penalty unit of 25 units of 300, 2-month maximum. A driver of a motor vehicle whose vehicle is stationary on a road shall give adequate advance warning to approaching driver of the obstacles which that vehicle constitutes by placing an advance warning triangle. Now, this advanced triangle should be placed at both ends, front and as well as the rear, 45 meters apart. All right, so if you do not place your warning signals at these both places, you can be arrested. And those of us who have been using neem trees and all those things, we are not doing the right thing. But the law is just being taken for granted. It's not being used against us. It doesn't mean we are doing the right thing. A person who leaves his broken down or disabled vehicle on a road beyond the mandatory limit allowed by law shall have it compulsorily towed and cost charged on the owner. All those vehicles that parks or when they spawn on the road, the owners leave it. And some of them becomes a high risk on the road. It's an offense. You understand? The law permit certain allowable limits that within that period, that vehicle should be removed from that place. And if it goes beyond that, they can arrest you and charge you. Right? But because sometimes we take this small, police take this small money, they don't enforce the law. But the law is clear. All right, spot fine. So now look at the spot fine, 38 offenses. Offenses committed at the presence of a police officer. Police officer issue a spot fine notice. Record offense in a counterpart license, electronic. Affix spot fine notice on statutory vehicle. Prosecution where failure to pay spot fine within time. So if any offense which is above 38 unit, the police has all the this is what the police is to carry out. All right, and you have to pay the spot fine immediately. And or if you cannot pay immediately, they will give you a duration. You park your car, or they will take you to the police station to come and pay your spot fine. Right? These are all in the law, but it's just that it is not being implemented. Okay. So thank you, everyone. In developing a society, people will not do what you expect, but what you inspect. All right. In developing a society, people will not do what you expect, but they will do what you inspect. So this is by anonymous writer. Thank you very much, and I believe you have today you have some clear understanding on the driving code. What you do not understand, we are here to assist you to understand. Thank you.
Wow. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff, Peter. This is really loaded. A lot of laws that we're supposed to comply with. And I wonder if a lot of people are, actually know all these laws, because I'm sure that these laws are supposed to be ideally covered under the training that we go through when we are trying to get our licenses. Beyond that point, I don't know if there's any medium for getting access to these laws. So a lot of times people are driving and they don't know the laws, and it is only the policemen who sort of know the laws, and they tend to use them against us. So the policeman will find every slightest opportunity to actually get some money from you. Unfortunately, I think that given the situation that we have in this country, I don't know if I should attribute it to some hardship and stuff like that. Everybody wants to sort of sort himself. So if you are caught by the police, then obviously you're expected to pay something, and your time will be delayed and all. So talk of these laws, these penalties, okay, and the spot fines that you've mentioned. Who is responsible for collecting this? What's the mode of payment for these spot fines? Do you pay to the policeman, or you're supposed to go to MTTD for them to process you for court, and then you pay it at the court? Does it have to go through that kind of trial process before you pay those spot fines, or you have to pay it straight to the policeman?
For now, that has not been clearly defined. Who to pay to has not been clearly defined. That is why that the spot fine law has not been
enforced. But then I can tell you the police are taking spot fine every now and then.
Yes, but that is unlawful. That is actually unlawful. They are not to do that. So if they are doing that, they are just using our ignorance. They are just using our ignorance to chop from us.
Yeah. Anyway, there have been some engagements from our audience, so I'll quickly show them. Okay, so we have Nana Entry saying thank you for the presentation. We have Foster also thanking us for information that we've shared, very educative content that you shared, Peter. And also, is it possible, he asked a question, is it possible that we could get this presentation? Well, Peter, what do you have to say on that?
Yeah, it's possible.
It's possible, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But then, of course, if you want to, you can always watch the video to get everything. I think there's an intellectual property. I'm not sure if Peter would have to share that. Foster again is saying that, do we have these laws on the internet? So over to you, Peter.
We have these laws in our statutory books, and some of the court rulings which are available. So some of these laws you can even see it in the NRSC manual.
Okay.
You can even see some.
Which one is the NRSC? Is it like
that's the National Road Safety
Council? Okay. But
so
there
it's
is an authority also.
Yes. So it's a combination of the route, the driving code that has been picked from all these documents for this presentation.
Oh, okay. So you should find that in the National Road Safety Act, I guess.
Yes.
Because they have
So you see some here. You see some here. When we started, you mentioned where you can get some of them. Let me just refer quickly to that. The sources. So you
Oh,
can see in the Constitution at 21(4)(c) is there. And then you can see 1992 Constitution of Ghana,
okay.
NRSC at 1999 at 567, DVLA at Road Traffic Act, Road Traffic Regulation 2012 LI 2180, and court decisions. So these are where you can get these laws. They are all
Oh,
over,
okay.
and you can see it on the net.
All right. Another thing that tend to baffle me over, I've made some observations. Usually, whenever we close from work and I'm heading home, I realize that police will mount barrier, and sometimes this barrier will cause very heavy traffic on the road. Is there any law that regulates the mounting of barriers? Because I know barrier is actually to maintain security situation within the area, sort of bring police presence to the area so that people know that there's policemen around. But oftentimes you realize this barrier is mounted way too early and it tends to create some inconvenience for motorists. Is there any law on that? What's your
You see,
take on?
anything that has to do with security, the police have certain discretion to make sure that they implement that to fit their operational, their modus operandi. So if at that particular time police feel that we have to do this because of maybe they have some hint on security matters, sometimes they hear certain things we are not privy to, right? So in this case, they have every right to mount those traffic barriers for their inspections and their checks. So we cannot question them why the law permits that. The law permits that.
Okay, we have I think Nana entry is saying, is it possible? Oh, okay, I think I've already mentioned that. We have a message, a question from Dana. Any reason for the 100 km/h speed limit for saloon cars?
It gives a specific place on the motorway. It doesn't mean a saloon car when you are driving close to a school junction where the limit stated clearly that is 40 kilometers per hour or 20 kilometers per hour, you should be driving 100 kilometers per hour. You are driving dangerously in that area. So please, when you are within that area, whether you are saloon car or you are SUV, please respect the law
Okay.
of driving.
There's another interesting question from Dana. He's saying, is there a speed limit exemption for emergency vehicles like ambulance, fire tenders, etc.? Because I'm sure you've been seeing that a lot of time on our roads. These people often abuse the road traffic regulation, and it's really very, very disheartening sometimes because you see them, especially the police vehicle, they drive on the opposite side towards oncoming vehicles, and they rather even moving at a top speed. So is there any exemption for them to drive in such a manner on our roads?
At that particular time, you cannot tell if the police officer is actually chasing a criminal or is on any mission. So far as we cannot tell what they are up to, it is difficult to judge their action. But the ambulances to you know what they are meant for is to save life. All right.
Okay,
So in the situation where there is nobody in the ambulance and it's still trying to maneuver its way through the traffic, maybe you don't also know if they are going to pick somebody who is in a distress situation. So in this case, the law permit them to use certain speed limit. The law permit them to use certain speed limit to save life, but they must do it in the confines of the law and according to safety.
Yeah, definitely true, especially for emergency vehicles, but definitely not for police, because for police, I don't seem to understand. And it's just one too many. Almost every time you see police vehicles, driving right in the middle, trying to find their way when there's traffic jam, or they actually drive on the opposite side at the top speed. And that's, I cannot understand. But I guess that's the country we find ourselves. The custodian of the laws are themselves breaking the laws. Anyway, I don't think there are any other questions from our audience. And let me see if I've also exhausted all my questions. So I think that usually, okay, you did mention that you're not supposed to drive for more than 4 hours continuous, and then also you're not supposed to drive for more than 8 hours in a shift, and then also not more than, you said 8 hours in a working shift.
24 hours, yeah.
24 hours, and then also no more than 500 kilometers on the road. But unfortunately, I don't think this is always this is really complied with, because I don't know who checks that, and how is there any mechanism for checking that, or the responsibility rather lies with companies who are supposed to have.
It is easy to check. It is easy to check. For instance, let me just give you one example. You know that when you are driving from Accra to Takoradi, you should move. It should be around 4 to 5 hours. All right, and you got to Takoradi within 3 hours. No, the police have every right to ask questions.
Yeah, but then how would they know that? How would they know that you used 3 hours to get to Takoradi? Or
so they can ask questions.
Okay, that's probably if you drive. That's probably if you drive dangerously on the road and it raises
dangerously on the, so they will know you are driving dangerously on the road. And you know, sometimes people are in the car who can say the truth. All right. If you are driving dangerously, it is your duty. If some driver is driving dangerously on the road, it is your duty as a passenger to also advise the driver. If you refuse not to do it and something happens, you are also in it. So you have every right to report the driver to the police at the point, or at the police point, when you realize that he's driving dangerously. But sometimes we don't do these things, and at the end of the day, they end up killing us.
Yeah. That's very true. I don't know, the message of stop work authority. Safety is only implemented within formal settings, and a lot of these road traffic crashes happen among everybody, including the informal side, which is the largest players within the road transport industry. So I guess that is probably the reason why we are having a lot of road traffic crashes, because passengers also know that they have right to tell the driver to stop driving when he's driving unsafely. We are talking about stop the job. Everybody has the right to stop work. I mean, if you see something which is unsafe, you have the right to issue a stop work authority. But that is not the case when it comes to driving on the road. Oftentimes, passengers rather keep quiet. Somebody will complain, but you don't get the backing of everybody. So then there's that kind of group thinking, group acceptance of what the driver is doing, eventually leads to an accident on the road. All right, so we can bring our webinar to a close. Peter, are there any final words from you?
For me, I think we need to respect the rules and then drive safe. Because,
all right. All right, good stuff. All right, so this defensive driving, I think, will come to a close. We actually planned it for next week, but Peter will be going offshore. Is it next week? You're on quarantine for how long? 2 weeks, right?
1 week.
Yes, yeah. So Peter will be going offshore. So we've exhausted the topic already. And given the current situation that we have, we are still hoping that a lot of presenters will come on board. All the safety gurus that are on various platforms, they can always reach out so that I can schedule a webinar like this, and we are hoping that everybody would get involved and then share your comments, engage with us so that we can learn and share with everyone. Okay, so on that note, the webinar will be scheduled as and when we have a presenter. It's going to be on Sundays, always. Sundays, it's not going to be any other day. And it's not going to be every week. It's going to be as and when we have a presenter on board or I have a content to share. So on that note, I'd like to thank everybody who participated, all those who shared their comments, from Foster, Nanentry, everyone, Padmore, and all of you guys. Thanks so much for joining, and bye-bye for now. Thank you.